Here we go. Okay, so good morning. Thank you for joining the Rubicon Performance Podcast. This is every Monday morning we bind together, lock arms, if you will, and we first of all begin with a routine. Routine is called prepping the objective. And everything that I've learned from everyone that's successful throughout life is they have a ritual, a regimen, something that they do that is a regular practice that they do on a consistent basis. And that consistency increases their performance. And one of the things that I've noticed in everyone that is highly successful is they begin every single day with a particular, they begin early, okay, and they begin on a similar focus, which is how do you take the mind and get the mind aimed in the right direction? Because if you're like me, first thing you do in the morning, if you open up your phone, what happens to you? You got messages coming in from all these different apps, and you got emails, and all of those things together do what? Do they keep us on focus, or do they distract us and disrupt us? What is your opinion?
They confuse us.
Go ahead, Alan.
They confuse us.
That's right. That's right. A lot of times that's what it does. It does confuse us, right? It certainly takes your mind. It takes it from probably a good position. And all those emails, all those messages coming in from Messenger or WhatsApp, or messages coming in from whatever app that you're using, do they keep us on our mission, on our focus, or do they take us like this in many different directions?
Many different directions.
That's right. They scatter us. Okay. So the most important thing we need to do in order to be effective is what? Have our mind being scattered and our attention being disrupted, or does our attention need to be focused like a laser? And we need to understand what we need to do, how we need to do it, and our mind needs to focus on mission, which is better.
Focus, obviously.
Yeah, the second one's better. So first thing we can talk about is when we begin our practice in the morning, is it a good thing first thing in the morning to open up your phone with all of those messages and let your mind do like this?
Nope.
It's not a good practice, okay? So your regimen and your ritual should be, if you're going to use your phone, like I use my phone has all of my prepping the objective videos and everything that I'm going to focus on, that's going to keep me focused. But I turn off all those other apps and I use a particular app. You can go to Google Play, and I don't know what the iPhone version would be, but I use one on there that's called Digital Wellbeing. So you can go on there, go to Google Play, type in digital well-being, download the app. And what that app allows you to do is either set up a sequence on a certain hour, or it gives you a manual option where when you click on it, guess what happens to all those apps that do this to your mind? They all go gray. It turns them off. You can't see a number of messages coming in. Nothing like that can disrupt you. So that way it keeps your mind what? Free from distraction. Now, if your mind is free from distraction first thing in the morning, then what can you do without disruption? Plan, prepare, and practice to do what? To perform. Our performance is always a result of our planning, preparation, and our practice. If we don't know where we're going, then how are we going to do the right things, actions, and mindset to help us get there? Does that make sense? So we have to be in control of what's going on and what's coming into our mindset, because our attitude is affected by that. So speaking of attitude, let's begin our practice that we do right now. So if everybody wants to pop yourself off of mute, and what we're going to do here is let you just kind of jump in here and share with us something that you are grateful for, and we'll begin our meeting right now. So I'll begin, and I will tell you the thing I'm grateful for. If you saw my post that I put up yesterday, is I had a chance to go down a different part of the Deschutes River, and it actually started off with, I don't know if you want to call it a failure, but a disappointment, because I was going to go back out to Devil's Lake where I was at with my daughter and grandson about 2.5 or 3 weeks ago, and the road was closed at that altitude up here in Oregon. They already closed the road because they don't plow it. And so I got all the way up there. It was a 45-minute drive, and all of a sudden, boom, I can't go do what I thought I was going to do. So we have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's what life is about. So I turned around, turned on Google, started looking for places on the way back that I could pull off, and I found a really cool trail that went right down the Deschutes River. So I did, I don't know, 4.5, maybe 5 miles yesterday, and found these incredible waterfalls, and ended up getting down there and having the best coffee. So that's what I'm grateful for. It was an amazing event, great hike, wonderful time to be by myself and just think and sometimes not think. And then I found a pretty cool place. So anyway, that's mine. So jump in here. Tell me what you're grateful for.
I'm grateful for my daughter being home from the weekend from college
Awesome.
and getting to help her and her boyfriend get ready for their first holiday party.
Okay.
So that was a wonderful weekend.
Awesome. Good, Linda. Great. Who else?
Go.
Go ahead. Just jump in.
I'm grateful to be able to be at home. Living apart from home, I had an apartment down in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and my boys and I, last couple weekends, I've taken each one of them down to help me pack up stuff to bring home, and so I actually got to spend some time with my boys.
Awesome.
That's the first time I've been able to do that with my boys for a very long time.
Absolutely. And those are amazing times. There's something about being with families, isn't there, Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Good. Cheers to you. Who else? Just jump in here.
I will just say it's wonderful to just be able to pick up the phone and call my mom, who's going to be 88. And so many of my friends have lost their parents. So just, when I think, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I just have to stop. And I am so grateful and just say, hey, Mom, how you doing? It's really a wonderful thing.
Awesome. Outstanding. Okay. Blanca.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yay! Good morning, everybody. I am grateful for being here with all of you guys. I am grateful for health, and I am grateful that at age 56 that I'm still teaching group fitness instruction. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. Glad to have you here today. Maria, I see your hand up here. I'm going to unmute you so you can jump in here. Tell us something you're grateful for.
Thank you so much.
Good morning.
I am grateful to be alive today,
Awesome.
but most grateful I was invited to go to the national television and speak about the book that I launched and speak about my chapter, the one which talks about the role of moms to turn up our world better than today in the next few years ahead. So after that, I had so many phone calls from friends saying that they saw me at the television and they will be helping the children and the people, the people that are in the streets, that they have no food and they will be helped. So I am happy, and thank you again, Matt and Steve. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. How cool is that to see all the different, as you've launched your book and taken your idea, everything, like you said, you took all of your proceeds of your book launch and everything you've done, and you've always channeled those toward children. I think you said in orphanages, make sure that you actually get them fed. What a wonderful thing. And just to see how this is continuing to open, and now you're on national television and you really are taking your message out there and so many people are getting it. Wonderful. Thank you. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So much. So I am really being best version of myself. As you say, we should be always better than the day before. Thank you.
Perfect. Good stuff here. All right. Anyone else want to jump in here? Tell us what you're grateful for.
I am thankful for the opportunity to teach my son. We are working on a project for our local food bank here right now. And I'm just grateful that we're not one of the ones in need of a Christmas meal. Instead, lucky enough to have enough to share, that we're working on making Play-Doh for the 57 children in our valley who are on the Meals on Wheels program. So they're going to get some Christmas tree Play-Doh for Christmas this year.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, if y'all don't know that, that is my daughter and my grandson there. So I'm always grateful when they can hang out with us too. Good stuff. Anyone else that wants to jump in here and tell us what you're grateful for this morning, if you can? I know some of you are at work and so you can't jump on here and speak what now. You're just hanging in here and listening to the podcast. Anyone else?
I'll jump in. I'm grateful that my health is finally on the mend.
Good.
Had reconstructed knee surgery 6 months ago. My knee is recovering well. 3 months away from 100%.
Awesome.
And I'm also finally on the mend from a pretty serious case of COVID.
Oh, okay.
Down for 6 weeks and finally
Wow.
feeling better. So I am grateful for my health recovering.
Good. So I'm going to
Yes.
introduce Brian here. If y'all don't know who Brian is, if you haven't heard about his book, or I think I've mentioned you a couple of times on here, Brian, because you're kind of a hero of mine. Brian is a world-class, what I refer to as a mountaineer. Is that correct, Brian?
That's correct.
Yep. So Brian took me out last year when I first moved up here to Oregon, and he took me out in his backyard, which is called Crater Lake, where he grew up as a kid. I think your father was a ranger there. Is that right, Brian?
Correct. Yeah, for
Yeah.
24 years.
For 24 years. And so he put me on cross-country skis. And if you guys, if there had been a film crew there, it would have been a horrible event, because Brian took me, we went out for like 3 miles in about 4 hours. And of course, Brian being on skis and being in this snow and stuff for his entire life, he made it look so simple. And I knew I was in good hands, because we were going out in some snow around Crater Lake, which is the deepest lake in at least North America, I believe. And I felt comfortable with him, because you've done Everest at least once. Didn't you get to the peak of Everest?
I did. Yep.
Okay. And you've done how many other mountains around the world?
Oh, countless.
A
50
lot of
maybe.
You pretty much checked them all off the list. So anyway, I knew I was in good hands out there with him breaking a trail in front of me. And I think by the 4th time I had fallen, and I was trying to figure out how to get my skis underneath me and putting my pole so deep down in powder that there was no pole, there was nothing to push off of. And the 4th time I was so exhausted, Brian had to come back down the trail and let me grab onto his backpack just to get me vertical again. But man, did I get humbled that day. I was so worn out after doing those 3 miles. And we got back to the parking lot to grab some lunch, and he's ready to go out and do another 3 or 4 miles. And I had to tap out. I said, dude, I'm glad you're a Superman, but I had to tap out. So really great memory there with you, Brian. So I'm glad that you're getting better. And I know now Brian lives down in Rogue Valley, where I was at up until 2 months ago. So I moved up to Bend, which is real close to Mount Bachelor, which is where you messed up your knee last year skiing, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm out here in the snow. So I'm ready, brother. When you're ready to come up and jump out there in the snow again, and you feel good, then I'll follow you breaking some trail. Okay.
I'll be ready. I'll be cleared by February.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right. So anybody else that wants to share with us something that you're grateful for, something that you're thankful for? Okay. So everybody else is on a position where you can't jump in here and speak or whatever. So one thing I wanted to jump in here and offer is kind of an unboxing of this brand new ad that I saw the other day. And I just love it. It's the one from Matt Damon. And so I put it out here over the last 2 days or so. So some of you might have had a chance to look at it, but I wanted to share it with you because it's got a really great Latin phrase that goes back to it's about 160 BC is when we first find the history of this Latin phrase, Fortis Fortuna Adiabat. And I'm attempting to pronounce it phonetically, and I probably just chopped it to pieces. So anybody that knows how to speak that dead language would probably tell me, Steve, you didn't say it correctly. But here's the deal. I'm going to let Matt Damon actually give you the deal. So hang with me here. I'm going to switch over and I'm going to share my screen with y'all. And if you haven't seen it yet, let's see, I'm going to share the sound. And okay, and here we go.
History is filled with almosts, with those who almost adventured, who almost achieved, but ultimately, for them it proved to be too much. Then there are others, the ones who embrace the moment and commit. And in these moments of truth, these men and women, these mere mortals, just like you and me, as they peer over the edge, they calm their minds and steel their nerves with 4 simple words that have been whispered by the intrepid since the time of the Romans. Fortune favors the brave.
Okay, did everybody get to see that? Did that show up good? Okay, did everybody hear it good? Audio and everything came through good. All right. So before I jump in here and give you my spin on it, I want you to tell me what you think about this particular phrase, fortune favors the brave. What do you think about this? And what is Matt trying to get to in this particular video clip?
Can I go?
Sure. Hi, Nisa. Good to see you.
Hi. So I think that in life you have to take risks in order to benefit. And if you play small, you'll only get small results. And if you take a risk and you're brave and you go out there, you'll get bigger results.
Okay. I like that. So if you're going to do something, might as well go big or go home, kind of like. Does that sound right, Nisa?
Yes.
Good, good. Okay, I like that. Someone else, compliment what Nisa's talking about. Give us your perspective.
Might as well shoot for the stars. That's what Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos and those guys are doing. To set the the path for not only just military people to go into outer space, but civilians.
Sure, sure.
So they've had that dream for a very long time, and now they're forging forward with it.
So Jack, you might have a little more familiarity with this than I do, but I know Bezos as well as Musk started trying to do, when they were the first ones that started to do, I guess you'd call it private sector launches, but they had a unique idea to reduce the cost, which was not just to send one rocket up and then have it, trashed and crashed and all that kind of stuff, but they wanted to set it back down on the pad so they could reuse the rocket again and again and reduce the cost. So how many failures did Bezos and Musk go through at, at their particular rocket companies?
I don't have a particular number. I know Musk went through quite a few, more than what Bezos did.
Yeah. Lots of failures though.
Yeah, and that's like with Virgin Galactic, there were, even though everything is suborbital space with that, and they've had the one failure back in 2013.
Okay.
And they lost the craft back then, but it's all trial and error. And as I'm watching like this last week with SpaceX, Musk says that they're on the verge of bankruptcy, and he's very direct on when he says this is what I want done when I want it done.
Sure.
He means business, and the same with everybody. It's even with me, with what I do, we have our process and procedures, and our company itself is in the situation to where the space race is on. But now, they have this craft that was only built to have 30 flights, and it's had 289 flights on it.
Wow.
That's why it's going down. It's down now for these mods.
Okay.
So they know that the cost, it's going to be well in the millions of dollars.
Sure.
To do this. So
right.
They're just forging forward. And, with the CEO of the company came from Disney. His vision is when he worked at Disney, he was the president over all the theme parks. So his vision is this is a ride. So he's going to make it worth everybody's, worth the dollar to get everybody that's paid so far. And I want to say there's over 300 people now that has paid to go up into space.
Okay, sure. Yeah, the ultimate experience. Yeah.
Okay. So they just keep forging forward, doing whatever it takes to get there.
Sure, absolutely. So we keep focusing on that. Keep focusing on that thing that has an incredible level of risk in front of us. Maria, I think you've got your hand up here. Did you want to comment on this? I didn't know if you had your hand up still from before. I just wanted to recognize if you wanted to speak again.
No, sorry.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure. So, Brian, I'm gonna put you on the spot here for just a second, because I know you've done some things that are pretty risky, and I've seen some of your pictures with you sitting out on a ledge with nothing but clouds underneath your feet because you were so high up in the mountains. Tell us about the mindset that it takes to go up and climb something like Everest give us an idea of how do you deal with that risk and that fear that you're going into some place that very few human beings have ever reached. How do you deal with the fear when you're going up at that altitude, knowing that you're putting your life at risk?
Sure. A couple of things. One, I run a loop around my head that says failure is not an option.
Okay.
And the penalty for failure is going to be death.
Okay.
Which is pretty dramatic, but
Sure.
it's true in some of those situations. And the other thing is I focus my window in a really small area right in front of me. I don't look around and look down and go, oh, wow, it's a long ways down, or whatnot. I'm aware of everything around me, but I keep my focus right in front of me. And I run another loop that says focus on the failure, or focus on the task at hand.
Right.
And one step in front of another, just different loops through my head, because your mind tends to wander around. And
yes, absolutely. Yeah, and in your situations there, you're dealing with extreme cold, and a lot of times you're probably at a point of frostbite, if not already, those kind of things setting in. I remember you telling me about a group of climbers that I think you were up on Rainier, and I think only one of them made it back, and the rest of them didn't. You were the last person to see them up there.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So when you're
knowing when to turn back, knowing when you're at your limits, or
sure.
Weather or conditions are not correct, and not having the being humble and being able to turn back without reaching the summit, because
Right.
everybody asks when you get home, did you make it to the top? And it's never fun to go, no, we turn around.
Sure. Yeah. But so the mental focus that you've had since early on in your life, when you first started climbing, because you hit Everest, weren't you about 30 in that area when you did Everest?
I was 37.
37. Okay. So, and I know you've done a lot of Ironman competitions and stuff like that. So you've done a lot of extreme training. I think you were telling me you were doing almost 3 hours a day for some of those trainings up in Washington State.
Yeah, 4 hours a day for
4 hours a day.
4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of focus. So when you're focusing on something like that, and you're feeling not everything when you get out there, especially up at Everest, you ended up with that. What's that cough that you get on the base camps?
I ended up with severe high altitude pulmonary edema,
Right.
Which is where your lungs basically fill with fluid and you drown.
Right, right. So how did you get your mind focused when you had something, your dream that you had traveled so far, and you had trained for so long, and all of a sudden now something's going on that's out of your control? How did you get your mind straight again?
In that case, the doctors told me my expedition was over and to go home.
Mm-hmm.
So I packed 100 pounds of equipment, hired a porter, and spent 3 days heading towards home. But I started feeling better as I got down to lower elevations, back down around 11,000 feet in the village of Noche Bazaar. So I decided to spend a week there and just see how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned around and headed back to base camp, and shocked everybody when I walked back in 10 days later, and said I wanted to give it a crack again. So.
And what happened from there? So you got better, you came back to base camp, and then how'd the story finish?
So my team had already left for the summit, so I had been left behind, because they all thought I'd gone home. So I just started climbing alone. I spent 16 days on Upper Everest alone, and worked my way all the way back up to Camp 3 at 24,000 feet. My team leader, Willie, we were in communication through radio, decided to make a double ascent and set a new world record for the first Western to make a double ascent in the same season. So then I hung out at Camp 2. We rendezvoused there, and Tendi Sherpa joined us also for a double ascent. And we flew to the summit. From there, we climbed for 39 hours straight, made the summit at 2:45 in the morning. All the way, pretty much a push from Camp 3 to the summit, and then back to Camp 2 in one 39-hour push.
Wow.
So
I'm guessing after 39 hours of climbing up at the very highest elevation a human can reach on Earth, were you a little bit tired?
Oh, exhausted. I sound completely intoxicated in my videos because I'm slurring my words because I'm so tired that
right.
I can't put sentences together.
Yeah, and yet you're out here climbing at the ultimate peak of the world. So you pushed yourself past the limit of of physical and emotional. I mean, you're up here at the ultimate level. So again, you must have really, really been combating not just mental fatigue, but mental focus.
Yeah, and just utter exhaustion. I didn't actually feel the all the videos and books I've read on Everest over the years. Everybody talks about being so tired that they're just focusing on one step in front of the other on the ascent. I didn't feel that. I had a loop in my head that day said, "I'm going to the top of the world. I'm going to the top of the world. I'm going to the top of the world." And that was the loop I ran for 5 hours and 45 minutes. It's normally a 8 to 12 hour summit climb from Camp 4. We did it in 5 hours, which is why we ended up in the middle of the night landing on the summit. So I run these loops.
I see that. Yeah, I hear you keep saying that. So where did you get this idea of running these mental loops that keep your mind focused?
Something I guess I created from, I spent a lot of time solo climbing. So I climbed Rainier solo and all the Cascades solo and whatnot. And so you have a lot of time alone when you climb solo days. So you tend to talk to yourself, and you almost sound crazy if somebody were watching you from a distance. So I started creating loops, self-talk loops.
Well, and the thing is I love when I get a chance to interview someone that has an extreme level of success. Obviously you train for it, and you got yourself there. You put yourself at huge risk, which could have not turned out well, but you decided that you had to do it. So you put this focus in your mind, and you created your own method, which was a loop, and that was keeping your mind from veering. We talked about early on in this program about your mind wanting to scatter and think about other things. And in your case, it was life or death. So if your mind did not stay focused on, I'm going to get to the top, then it would have thought about all the other things, how cold I am, my fingers, my toes probably were at frostbite level. You're hungry. You got pulmonary edema where you're filling up so you can't breathe. All these things would have been reasons for you to not go any further and turn around and go home, right?
Exactly. And 80% of the fatalities in mountaineering happen on the descent. And it's usually simple mistakes. People are tired, their mind wanders around, they trip over a crampon and fall, or they misclip into a rope or clip into a wrong rope. Or I remember one day I was crossing the ladders in the Khumbu icefall, and I got distracted thinking about something else. And I went to unclip after crossing a triple ladder over a 200-foot deep crevasse that was 40 feet wide. I went to unclip on the other side and realized I'd forgot to clip in to begin with. And so I crossed that ladder without any protection. And those are the simple mistakes that happen when your mind wanders.
Right.
So I've gotten pretty good at focusing, and
yeah,
it scared the willies out of me when I realized that.
Right. I bet it did. When you finally realized that you were up there above the world, going across a ladder, and you had nothing, no safety net, nothing.
No safety. Right. Yep. I never would have been heard from again if I would have lost my balance.
That'd have been it. So what can we take from this? Okay. Each of us have our Everest that we are working on right now. Okay. I'm using that as a metaphor. And I love the phrase, when you go back and study the history of this phrase, that Matt Damon did a great job of being very dramatic, obviously being a world-class actor, and talking about the people that decided to do things in our world and then they failed. And then the other individuals that also decided to do something to make that endeavor, to go after that journey, to achieve that next level for them, and yet they succeeded. And the difference when you listen to, of course, the little clip here that Damon is talking about, he talks about this thing that he said, they embrace the challenge and they commit. Okay. And since we've got Brian with us this morning, we've been listening to him talk about his commitment when he decides to do one of these other challenges that he's done that most of the human beings haven't. And we've heard him talk about how he focuses his mind. So commitment is not just a focus on the end result, but it requires a method or a process. And if you will, some people call it a level of madness, because when you get to that level that you're tired and you're exhausted, you have to have a ritual or a routine or a regimen that you fall back on, that is your base, that you continue to loop, as Brian calls it, or you repeat to yourself. I've read some other books on mountaineers, and they talk about focusing on the summit, but they say if you keep your eyes focused on the summit, it will crush your soul because it's so far away and it's so difficult. So the thing that they talk about is keeping your eyes on your boots. Watch your boots, they talk about. So you get your bearing, I'm going to the top of the mountain, but then I focus on the next task that's in front of me, watching my boots, watch my boot move in front of the other boot, make one more step in the positive direction. So how can you use this to your advantage? I mean, we're at our 30-minute marker right now, but I wanted to give you this as an idea for your day, for your week, is when you get your bearing, and you have to have a bearing, you need to know where you're going at the end of the day. You need to know what's important to you. You need to know where you need to get to at the end of the week. What is it that you need to do this week that's going to take you toward the outcome at the end of the month? You need to know at the end of the month where you need to go to get to at the end of the year. At the end of the year, where is the decade I need to get to? And then I focus on a thing in my Rubicon system that I've told you guys about, that I built over my 30 years of studying philosophy, psychology, and so forth, and making my different achievements, is you have to focus on your end result. What do you want your gravestone to look like when you get to the end? And you're like, wow, Steve, that's really morbid. Why would you want to do something like that? And the purpose of that is you begin with the end in mind, okay? It's not about death. It's being in a position of not being afraid of death, true, because that's inevitable, but it's not focusing on the morbid element of it. It's focusing on, what do you want this life to etch into your stone? What you did. Did your life matter? Did you do something in this life that set a pace for other human beings, set a pace for your children, set a pace for those people that you care about, that you pushed yourself to the point of exhaustion and then found the edge past that, that you did something that you felt that was beyond your physical, mental, maybe even emotional capability, but you trained and you conditioned and you kept your mindset on that ultimate outcome. And because you did that, the ritual, the regimen, the practice, the planning, the preparation, you were able to perform when it mattered most. Performing when it matters most is what separates the common from the uncommon. It is that getting up early in the morning. It is doing your mental preparation every single day. It is finding a ritual and a regimen and a method to what you do. And it doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't have to be Brian's. It doesn't have to be Jack's or Pam's or Maria's or Nisa's or Blair's or Linda's or anybody else that's on a call. It needs to be yours. But whatever it is, it's got to be a ritual. You've got to do your morning, focus your mind. Do not let it get scattered by opening up your email first thing and chasing down emails and text or whatever. That takes you off of your mission, okay? Every day, your mission has got to be, what are the good things that I need to let fail for a reason so that I can do those things that are great? You can't do them all, okay? We're all human beings here. We're limited by this thing called time. We only got so much time. We have so much effort. And within that time and effort, we have the very important thing that Brian kept bringing up here, is you have a certain level of mental focus. So when you do your loop or whatever method that you're going to come up with that helps you make that next achievement so that you can get to the Everest event in your life, so that you can make that difference and make the change in the world that the Creator put you here for, it's going to require daily regimen, practice, planning, preparation, so that you can perform when it matters most. So that achievement that you need to do in your life, the people's lives you need to touch, the people that you need to inspire, to do that, to leave that gravestone that says, my life mattered, you have to do this every day. Focus on being grateful first thing in the morning. Focus on finding your family like this, that we're all together at the beginning of every week. And I thank each one of you for being here, because to me, this is the greatest thing to share with other people that are focused in the world, that you can find that say, hey, there are other people out here that have a mission similar to mine. And together, when we lock arms, then we're going to make this thing happen. Okay. We're going to make the world a better place by watching our boots. Get our focus on the big event to get to each one of our Everest, and then watch your boots. Okay. Good stuff. Good. Love each one of you. Thank you for being here, Brian. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot and talking about Everest. Jack, thank you for your contributions as well. And each one of you, thank you for jumping in here and telling me about what you're grateful for. Maria, thank you for making such an amazing difference in those children's lives there. And thank you each for being here. And we will see you this time, same time next week. And be sure every day of the week, start your first deed, first action. Keep your focus on being grateful. Okay. Love you. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Very good.